Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 11:11 hour Tuesday night live. Tonight we have a special guest with us. Her name is Leanne Michelle. She is a soulmate, relationship, and sex coach. What is that, you might ask? I have no idea, but tonight we're all going to find out together. So get the kids down the other end of the house. This one's for the adults only. Or get your earbuds in. And Leanne's got all the questions from throughout the week. She's going to answer them and tell us a little bit about who she is and what she does. Over to you, Leanne.
Cheers. Thanks, Cherry. Hi, everyone. I'm Leanne. I'm Leanne from Soulmate Coaching. So you might have seen me popping up here and there in our conversations through Help Me Build My Business or 11:11 hour. But my face has been up and about all over the place. So tonight I'm bringing you the pleasure agenda and how to bring some sexiness back into your life when you're running a business. I'll give you a little bit of a background about myself and how I landed to come to this topic, because I believe that it was actually a really pivotal moment in my previous relationship. So I have had to write some notes because I don't want to miss anything that's really important. So yes, I'm Leanne. I run two businesses. I have a remedial massage business that I've run successfully for almost 8 years now. And that's Note to Self Massage Therapy. I'm also a relationship, intimacy and sex coach at Soulmate Coaching, which has grown and developed over time over the past nearly 2 years. So it is only quite new, but the progression into that was really quite an interesting journey. I'm a mum of 4 and I'm divorced. I divorced about nearly 6 years ago. So I'll give you a brief history of my relationship. I was married for 17 years. I lived separated with my ex-husband for another 4 years after that, as we managed finances and raising our children together. But we lived separated under the same roof for 4 years. And then I moved out after that and have now been divorced for 6. It was a really difficult time, but it allowed me to learn a lot about myself and reflect on parts of the relationship that we had that worked and parts that didn't work, and allowed for, I suppose, the both of us giving up on our relationship and putting business and finances and other things first. So while I was married, I did believe that we were both very much provider driven, and we were very much focused on different parts of our lives and relationship together. It wasn't until we separated that he told me that it was such a stressful environment to be in, having to leave the house every single day and go to work and be the person that brings home the money. And I wish that I had known that piece of information many, many years earlier. I wasn't aware of the stress that it was causing him, and it did impact every part of our lives. That, for me, I felt very lonely and focused on my kids instead of focusing some of my attention back into our relationship. And it became really, really disconnected. And we both became really quite resentful to each other because we weren't spending time with each other. So we grew apart very, 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 very thoroughly, actually. We tried marriage counselling. We went to marriage therapists and sex therapists. We tried counselling with, psychologist appointments. And we just tried. We went. Things would go really well for about 6 weeks. It felt really clunky. It felt really disingenuous. And it was really short-lived every single time. And we found that now on reflection, we just talked about so many things all the time, but nothing was really being addressed. We sort of just admitted to each other where we were going wrong and where our downfalls were, but we never were given any really tangible things to do together to help us grow and to help us move forward and come out of those spaces. And that was really hard because we were just sort of left on our own with no real direction. So while I was separated, oh my God, I studied really hard. I wanted to learn about myself. I learned about relationships. I learned about why mine went wrong. I learned about how to repair a relationship. I Googled like mad. I read books. I listened to podcasts, and I was just absorbing as much as I possibly could about why. Why was our marriage failing, and how can I repair it? But it was too late for us. It was really, really too late. So the problem with it, I suppose, was that the biggest thing that I recognized about reflecting on it was that the both of us allowed it to happen. And it wasn't about one of us not committing enough to each other. The both of us allowed that to happen, in that neither of us really tried hard enough to make the commitment to each other, which we did when we were married. So when I started sharing about my relationship failure with friends and other people and family, it became really aware that many other people were in the same boat, and they didn't know what to do about it. So fast forward, I moved out, started my business. I brought my massage business out of a clinic and into my home space, which prompted more questions from my clients, more people going, I'm in the same boat. And the joy of COVID hit us. And I was forced to cease my business. I was not allowed to trade from home. And all I wanted to do was be helping people. So again, back into study and finding ways that I could help people out. So my study turned into studying relationship, intimacy, and sex coaching, and counseling, and trauma therapy. So here we are now. So a relationship, intimacy, and sex coach is a person that can come in and help you with discussing, giving you a really beautiful platform to discuss your relationship with, and talk about the things that are troubling you, and give you activities and resources and tools for you to go home and practice. So there's lots of little activities that we incorporate, that I'll incorporate into anyone that comes in for coaching sessions. And the idea is that we get you to a goal that you want to meet. So if your relationship is sort of starting to slow down and you're losing that spiciness, that's your goal. We want to bring back some spiciness, more connection, and we get you to that goal. Timeframes vary depending on what sort of goal it is and what the little steps are along the way, and the commitment to achieving it, and the commitment from each other to achieve that. So coaching, it's like going to the gym. Someone's going to be there with you and help you along the way and keep you on track and on task and hold you accountable when you slip up. So that's sort of a little bit about what Soulmate what coaching is. I work with couples. I work with single people. We do a lot of work on yourself and understanding yourself, your body, your emotions, your feelings, your fears, previous things that have happened in your life. We work through some of those little struggles and get back on track. So that's a little bit about what coaching is, to answer Cherry's question, which is I don't even know what it really is. But it's a very big topic with loads and loads and loads of layers to every single person who joins and comes on board with their concerns. So tonight, I did really want to talk to you all about something that I noticed in my relationship, and that was that divide and the impact of how often when you're running your own business, your relationship just gets put back to the side, discarded sometimes. And it often comes down to many things. These things that I've noted here have come from my clients that I've worked with, and they have come from many other people that I've spoken to. So I'm not so much drawing on any any AI response for this one. This is actual people that have spoken to me. So the things that break down in relationships when we try and run businesses, or we work really hard and try and hold everything afloat, are things like the need to provide for the family, whether that's just yourself and paying your bills, or whether that's a family with your children included. The financial strain and fear of losing everything. So the more you work, the harder you work, the more money you bring in, then that financial strain is really quite scary for people to not have that there. Devotion to children and household tasks. So often what happens is that stay-at-home mums, or women primarily, take on the load at home, and we spend a lot of time doing tasks at home, household chores, raising the children, while our partners are out working really hard outside of the home. So we feel that there's not balance in the household chores. So women, we tend to, as women, I know I did, absolutely devoted all of my time when I wasn't with my partner. And even when he was home, I would devote my time to caring for my children, because they were giving me love and affection and attention that I wasn't getting from elsewhere, from my partner. So I'm just popping in here to see the comments. I can see comments now. I wasn't able to see them just a second ago. So, all right, we're going to jump straight into questions. Thank you, everybody. I'm just quickly reading through some of these comments. You're welcome. Yeah, I do like to share a little bit about my story to make it a little bit relatable for people. Absolutely. And it is really easy to trip up. It is really trip up to having priorities all messed up. So yes, absolutely, Cherry. Okay, question. Any cool tricks for sneaking intimacy into our crazy work days? Hubby and I work 40-hour weeks. He works weekends, and the only time we have together is nights and some mornings. And by the time the kids are in bed, we are exhausted. Something's got to give, we feel. Oh boy, I love this question. I love it. So firstly, let each other know that you're thinking about each other throughout the day. 40-hour weeks for each of you is just, it's huge. And yeah, minimal time together at nights and in the mornings. There's not a lot of time in little tiny parcels there. So my biggest suggestion here would be to absolutely send each other text messages throughout the day whenever you're thinking about them. Now, the trick here, though, is to don't expect a message back straight away, because you both have other things to do. But it's really nice to know that someone's thinking about you. So send text messages to each other. You can send some cheeky little ones throughout the day as well. So don't be frightened to send a sneaky, cheeky text message to each other to build anticipation of what could possibly happen later on at night. That I'm fairly certain that the exhaustion will ease if you start to build some anticipation in the day. So, for example, the text message might be, oh, I can't wait to squeeze your bum when I get home. Something as simple as that. Or when you get home, I'd love to, whatever you like to fill in the gaps with, or can you please? So if you're open to it, why not send some cheeky pictures? So that does not mean that you need to send through full nudes. You can send through just a little bit of a side boob. Let's do side boob. You can send through something in some sexy lingerie. You can just, I don't know, send through something that you feel that you are looking and feeling really sexy and really attractive in or doing that might excite your partner a little bit. I know that one there is a little bit of those questions where not everybody's okay to send, nudes or spicy pictures to each other, but it is something to have a think about and work out why or why not. If you're worried about them being shared with friends or anything else, that's where you need to have that conversation about putting some boundaries into place with your partner and making sure that it's just very, very private and just between the two of you. But you never know, it might lead to a little bit of spiciness when you get home. The mornings, some mornings, make it happen. In those some mornings when you guys are home together, get out there and have some fun. Leave all the dishes, leave the washing, leave it. Get out and have some fun. You've got some mornings that you can find time together. Enjoy that time together and make it a little bit more playful. So, and then don't forget, book a babysitter. Book a babysitter and get out of the house and go on some cheeky dates. You can actually get day rooms here in Geelong, and you can rent a room for a couple of hours if you wanted to have a sneaky lunchtime date together. But depends how willing and how keen you are to take things really spicy. Okie dokie. Hope that one's answered the questions. I've got another question here. My question is this. I work with my husband from home and we try to keep work separate, but sometimes I think about mixing business with pleasure, if you get what I mean. Is that ever okay? Great question. I love it. I really, really want to take this one to a place of get busy, mix business with pleasure, have heaps of fun doing it. I'm fairly certain that your partner won't say no to you mixing business with pleasure, unless, of course, they're on a Zoom call and likely to, you might run past in the background. But mixing business with pleasure is always okay when it's the two of you as partners at home, for sure. Absolutely. What's your reason for not doing it? That's a question you really need to ask yourself there. It might depend what your husband's business is. So, for example, if your hubby's out there welding and around very sharp power tools, that might not be a suggestion. But, you could always don a hard hat and an apron and nothing else, and make it a little bit more playful and have some fun with it. You could have so much fun. Go for it. I say go for it. Try it. Try it out. Mix some business with pleasure and let me know how you go. I'm really keen to hear. If you are open to using any sort of toys and introduce some sort of playful toys into the mix, there are little toys that you can wear, that you can purchase that are wearables. So you could have something vibrating and he can control it via remote control, similar to this one here. The other part is gone missing. I don't know where it is. But you could pop this on his desk and just hand it to him and let him take control of some of your pleasure. And there are ones controlled by phone apps as well. And there are some for men as well. So if you're into using some toys and introducing some different fun, they can be a lot of fun. They're really, really good. All right. Hope that one's answered. Let me know how you go. I'm really keen to hear about that. Next question, sensitive topic, please ask anonymously. My hubby has fantasies about another woman. Is that normal? This is a really tricky question, and a really tricky position to be in. So it can be really, really hurtful. The mood's going to change here a little bit as we talk about this one. It can be really, really hurtful to hear that our partner is fantasizing about another woman, or a partner's fantasizing about somebody else in general. Just as much as people that are sharing their fantasies with their partner are also frightened about rejection or humiliation and shame as well. So it sort of puts both people into a very vulnerable position at times. There are other times where it can be a way of manipulating you or manipulating each other along the lines of trying to elicit some element of jealousy in the relationship, and that they might comment that I'd like you to do this because they think of the fantasy that they might have with somebody else. It is very normal, though, for people to fantasize about other people. It's just the nature of sharing that with each other that it's really something that personally I would ask a lot more questions around the nature of how this come up in a conversation with you. I do feel for you. I have been in this situation before. And it is very, it is a really hurtful place to be in. The other side of it too is you have to wonder and question why this has come up for this particular person and what it is that has taken them to that place, and then the willingness to share that with you. So I really would suggest that that you reach out to me privately and we can have further conversation about that. I would ask an awful lot more questions around this before I can provide much more advice about it. So yes, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to speak to you. Okay, thank you for that question. Okay, the next one we have is, hi there. I've been pondering something lately and thought maybe you could help shed some light. My husband and I have a wonderful relationship, but I've been yearning for a bit more romance and those sweet, affirming words that make you feel fully cherished or truly cherished. You know, like those simple yet meaningful phrases like "you're beautiful" or "I adore you." I do understand that everyone expresses love differently, and I appreciate all that. If I ask him to say these things, how will I know that? There's more to that question. How will I know that he's not just saying them, and not meaning it? Okay. Firstly, congratulations on having a wonderful relationship and for opening up about your yearning for more affirming words and sweet affirming words. Changing your ways. Look, I could go into a really big conversation here about the 5 love languages and how each and every person has a different way of expressing their love to each other. But at times I feel like it's a little bit of a guide, and it's nice to understand a little bit about it. But ultimately, we really each deep down want to have a partner that can provide us with all of those things, with all of the 5 different languages of love. And so I tend to not refer to that very often. But what I will say is that introducing something new into a relationship that is going to make the other person feel a little bit uncomfortable at the introduction of that is going to feel clunky, and it is going to feel really weird for the person doing it. And it's going to feel really, really weird and disingenuous and really fake to the person receiving it. Because you question it all the time. Are you just saying that because I've asked you to? And so you both do feel like you're trying really hard in these moments to connect with each other. But what it boils down to is that it is a self-consciousness of whether or not it is true. In these moments, what I would really, really try and say and try and advise to people is that instead of going straight to asking for these words and this language to be used with each other, I would try and incorporate lots of different activities that you can do together to connect, as opposed to at the end of the night sitting on your phone or watching Netflix and just sort of ignoring each other. Turn the telly off, sit together and do some really, really simple activities that will elicit conversation that you can have together, and sharing those words. You can share touch in these ways. You can arrange to do little gifts to each other, whatever you feel like you need to do in these moments. So I have written down some examples for that. for those little activities. So I'll give you those now, just a couple of those. So this is something that everybody can do. This is something that I really encourage that couples do, especially in busy homes with kids or when you're running your own business. What's important is that as a couple, you treat your coupling, your relationship no different to what you treat your business, and no different to that of what you would treat on your own self if you are a single person. And what that is making sure that you plan some time for your relationship, no different to what you would with social media or what you would for meetings with people in your business. So I have something that I work with couples with and with people, and that is in the coaching space, and that is what I call a relationship check-in. I'm just going to backtrack here for a second and talk briefly about the relationship check-in, and then I'll come back and add into some of the activities that I was talking about. So a relationship check-in is where you both come together once a week or once a fortnight on a devoted day and time to catch up together and talk about what you can do for the coming week or coming fortnight ahead, where you can find pieces of time within your day and within your night and within your planned structure of everything else for each other, devoted to each other. Now, that doesn't mean that you have to plan you're going to have sex on a Thursday night. It does not mean that at all. But what it means is it's all of the little incidental times that you can catch up and go for a walk together, have a coffee together, plan a little hot date that you might have together, and ease into connecting before you start getting into the really spicy stuff and really deep sexual intimacy, because the intimacy will come with more connection. So the purpose of a relationship check-in is that it's a container that together you can talk about your relationship on a regular basis and determine what's working and what's not. So it's time for reflection, as well as the opportunity to build on a shared vision with your partner. So that's where these little goals come in, that you might plan to go away on a holiday together. How can you get to that goal so that it's easy and free and enjoyable for the both of you? Ideally, the meeting's done once a week or fortnightly. Sometimes it's easy to do it on a Sunday because you tend to wind down a bit on a Sunday. But you can adapt this and all of the components together as you see fit within your own relationship. But the ultimate goal is for you to connect with your partner, and you can use this as a springboard to connect further. Okay. I will provide a link to this for anybody that would like a copy of this so that you can tap in and read it for yourselves and use it and start to consider it. So basically what happens in a relationship check-in is, I'm going to keep this really brief because I can see there's some more conversation here. But basically you come together and you drop in, basically. The both of you come in, you breathe together and relax and have, those big, deep sighing breaths. Try and let all the worries go before you come together. And then you do a bit of a headspace check and just check in on how you're feeling, an emotions check, whether you're feeling excited, whether you're sad, whatever your emotions are. And you leave everything else at the door. This is about the two of you and planning time for yourselves together. If you are single, this is something that you can do yourself as well. You just check in and go, okay, how can I fill my cup this week wholly and solely for me? So it does take practice to sit in that little space there and determine what your emotions are in that moment. But with practice, it gets a lot easier, and you come together really quickly. No different to catching up with a friend for a drink. You determine what's coming up for the week. Sorry, I got a bit of fluff. the weekly overview, you determine what's coming up for the week, what commitments you've got coming up, whether your partner has a menstrual cycle still. If they're still cycling, you might want to consider that if in all of your plans together. You want to consider the weather, any other things that you would like to do in your relationship as well. And then you dive deep. So this is where you go, how can we make time to spend together? Where can you make time to spend together? And plan some adventures, plan for some movement together, just walking and hiking, some spirituality, whether you're into whether you go to church or whether you're into yoga or meditation, and you can bring in some spirituality in there, and some sex. So the foundational deep dive is where you go, rightio, we've worked out that we can do these, we've got parcels of time here. How can we put ourselves into those parcels of time and do things together? The next step of it is literally writing it down. You both get your calendars out and you put it in your calendars so that you have a date on Thursday night and you're going to go to dinner, and it's hubby's turn and he's got to find where you're going to go for dinner. Or you might just connect on a Sunday afternoon to go for a walk along the beach together for half an hour and grab a coffee on your way home. It's the little portions of time that you can fill up with this connection with each other. So putting it all into the calendar is really important. At the end, once you've sort of established everything and you've put it all into your calendars, then it's really important to then come together and really express gratitude towards each other, thanking each other for connection, thanking each other to committing to connection with each other and booking each other into your schedules. And this is time to take some time to hold each other's hands, hug, gaze into each other's eyes, have a kiss, lay back on the couch with each other and just adore each other, knowing that you've got a plan for what your connection is going to look like for the week ahead. So that's how you can incorporate all of this, the bigger stuff, into your life. But coming back to this question about how can I incorporate more phrases in there, in those little times you come together, write down 5 things that you love about me. These are little activities that you can incorporate into that schedule we talked about. You can incorporate lots of touch games in there. So, for example, on a Tuesday night at not 8 o'clock, we've got this going on, but maybe after this, 9:30 on a Tuesday night, you're both free. You might spend 15 minutes where the activity might be, I'd like you to touch 5 parts of my body that you love, and I would then like to do the same to you. Close your eyes and massage each other's hands really lovingly. There's a lot of power in touch with each other. And if you don't like touch, that is totally okay as well. There are other things that you can do with each other. You can just whisper in each other's ears if you like. You can lay next to each other without touching each other. There's lots of different things that you can do. Spend some time slow dancing with each other. Pop some music on, gaze into each other's eyes with your arms around each other and just slowly moving to the music. And this is a really beautiful way to do this as well, is to incorporate these words that you're after. Just, move together and move the energy through your body and prompt each other. Tell me what you love about me. Remind me of your favorite body part of mine, and then you might invite them to touch that. So, for example, if their favorite body part of you is your shoulders, you might encourage them to hold or squeeze your shoulders. But communicate what you would like, because that's okay. It is frightening to start with, but it's going to feel more genuine, I think, that if you can incorporate activities in there, as opposed to just saying, I'd like to hear you talking to me more often and telling me how much you love me or adore me. So I'm going to just click back in here to some comments first. So Roy, thanks for commenting, Roy. And I can see that Cherry's commented in here about the cushion. Oh, this is my pussy cushy. I'm glad you saw that, Cherry. There's a willy one here too. So I'll show you. No, I won't show you. You can see in the background there. Roy, thank you for your comment. I'm 65 years old and have been single all my life. The last 3 years have been a constant battle over mental health illnesses. I've recently been fortunate to find some really awesome and respectful people, which has changed my outlook on life so much for the better. Well done. Most dialogues is around partners for long-term single divorced people and people like me who have been single all their life. What is one piece of advice to older single people to help them disconnect from their traumatic experiences? Is there more to that question? But that's okay. I get the gist of it. We might just leave that question on there for a moment, if that's okay. So for long-term single divorced people and people like you who have been single all their life, what is one piece of advice to older single people to help them disconnect from their traumatic experiences? To be really honest, Roy, I would highly recommend speaking to a trauma therapist and starting to unpack some of the traumas. You don't have to ever talk about the traumas. So I'm an embodied processing trained therapist. What that means is that I never have to know anybody's trauma that has happened to them, but your body will hold that in the system. So that's where triggers come from, where you feel that sickness in your tummy, where your whole body wants to go into that flight, fright, freeze, or I can never say that. Flight, fight, freeze, or fawn modes, where you are triggered by something, your body gives you a full physical reaction about it. There's a lot of evidence saying now that that's trauma stored in the body, and traumatic experiences will continue to show up as triggers like that, prompting you to relive or withdraw from experiences, dissociate from these experiences until it's moved through the body. So processing trauma, there's many different approaches for it. There's loads and loads of psychologists that will do lots of approaches with EMDR, CBT. There's embodied processes too, which is lots of somatic work and moving the energy through the body not to change, but to allow the traumatic experience to continue to finish its loop, so that it can open you up for more space to let more amazing things in, such as this new outlook that you have on life. So I really congratulate you for asking such a big vulnerable question. It is really difficult at times to admit that traumatic experiences have shaped experiences for you in the past and do continue to affect you. And I really appreciate you asking that question, for sure. So definitely reach out to a therapist. Feel free to touch base with me and I can put you in touch with some as well if you wish. Thank you. Okie dokie. I'm just having a look at some comments here. Leanne, you should consider developing couples games, question cards. Oh yes, they are happening in the background. I've got too many other things on the go at the moment. So I appreciate the suggestion. Thank you. I like to work directly with people too, so that's where that one comes from. You're welcome, Roy. Okie dokie. So this question here, how do I bring back intimacy without adding pressure? Hubby has a business and is always working. I feel like I can relate very personally to this one, in that it's often what happens is one person in the relationship wants to bring back intimacy, but we're too frightened to talk about it. And this is where many people come undone, that there's a fear of rejection, and there's a fear of humiliation or shame if we speak up about something that we want. So we encourage our kids to ask for things. So I highly advise asking and talking about it a little bit more. So when you say about adding pressure, though, it doesn't have to come from a place of, you never hold me anymore, and you never lay next to me in bed anymore. You don't show me any affection anymore. That's really quite an aggressive way for somebody to say, I'm missing out on some of these things, and I'd like to initiate those again, or I'd like to see if we can connect again. So an approach that I would generally advise people is that you can use statements such as I statements. I would really like to spend more time with you. I feel that when we're together, I feel really connected and close to you. There are a couple of different ways that you can do that. But it's about being non-threatening in the conversation. So a common piece of advice that I give a lot of people when it comes to approaching a conversation that you're really nervous about, or really apprehensive about approaching with your partner because they are busy with their work or they are under a lot of pressure, is to reflect a little bit on the other side of them too, that they also may be feeling the same but don't know how to approach you. But somewhere along the line, somebody has to speak up. Somewhere along the line, someone has to say, okay, can we chat a little bit later? The best way to do this without creating a force field between the two of you straight away is to say, look, I've got some things that I'd really like to talk about with you. When you're ready and you're feeling relaxed after a shower or whatever you need to do, can you let me know so that we can sit down and just have a chat? So that way you've both got some time to settle your systems down. You're not coming in at the end of a busy day and being just ambushed with, we need to talk. No one likes that, let's be honest. But you're giving your partner some respect and some time to let them end the day and let them have a shower or go for a walk, whatever they need to do, so they can come back to you when they're nice and calm, because you already know what you want to approach in the conversation. So highly recommend that approach when you are bringing something up that your partner may or may not be willing to hear. But when it comes to not wanting to put undue pressure on your partner, consider that they're possibly thinking the same. So somebody has to say something at some point, otherwise there won't be any change. So, all righty. I think we've got another question here. Roy, you are very welcome. Thank you. I appreciate your thanks there. So Roy's just said, thanks so much. Great advice and insight. Okie dokie, we've got another question here. And this is, hi Leanne, any tips on non-sexual ways to spice things up? Now, this was a question that I really loved for the challenge of this. So it's a really beautiful question, because not everybody really wants to be very sexual and overtly sexual all the time. And but wanting to spice things up is also really interesting too. So I'm going to look at this question from the perspective of wanting to spice things up, meaning you wanting a little bit more connection, but it doesn't necessarily have to translate into sex. So some non-sexual ways that I would suggest spicing things up is starting with some things that involve laughter and movement and energy. None of that has to involve any kind of sex at all. So if you put on a really funny movie together, or pull out some card games. I might have one somewhere. Pull out some card games and laugh, make up some laugh. Yeah, something that's going to make you laugh, something that's going to give you a big belly laugh where you just really enjoy your company with each other and your cheeks hurt. There's, other things would be going for a walk and just, I don't know, getting a little bit flirtatious, just because flirtatiousness doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate into, sexuality, sexual interactions. But definitely, going and moving your body. Dance together, put on some 80s music. I mean, who doesn't love 80s music? And just dance like maniacs around your house. Remember and revisit all of those daggy dances you might have done in the club. Put on some R&B and, get groovy and move the energy through your body. Sex is, sexual energy is huge. And so when we're talking about spicing things up, we're wanting to enjoy the company of each other. This is also something that you can do yourself. All of these things can be done alone. So, dancing, moving, touch is really, really lovely too. So touch doesn't necessarily even have to mean that it's going to lead to sex either. Touching yourself to just soothe your body is really beautiful. So it doesn't need to be sexy and sensual. Just different types of touch, just tickly touch, really light squeezing touches. That's enough to elicit responses in the body that feel good, that don't necessarily convert into sexual touch either. So I hope that's answered that question. If I've missed the mark completely, let me know. I'd love to know. All right, next question. Laughter is the best. Absolutely, Cherry. Okay. Oh, and Chris has put in, you could put on It's Getting Hot in Here by Usher. Go for it. Absolutely put Usher on. Usher's sexy. Okay, last one. I'm divorced and getting back into the dating game. Advice for a newly single lady in her 50s. Oh my gosh, where do I start? I'm in the same boat as you. It's unreal. Getting back into the dating game, to be really honest, get to know yourself first. Take some time to really, really get to know yourself first. Unpack some of the things that you might be feeling angry about, might be feeling really resentful towards your ex-husband, but take some time to learn about yourself and love yourself again. You're not broken. This goes for any single person that's online tonight. You are not broken, and you just need to be finding yourself again. And that can be done through going to different types of workshops that do sort of inner healing, if you wanted to do that. Going to church, there's lots of healing that happens at church, lots of conversations. Sometimes I do advise that you don't hang out with friends too often and get stuck into the drinking, because it tends to bring out everybody else's resentment and anger. So you kind of take on a lot of other people's. But at some point, I'm a very big believer of, you have to let go of some anger and rage and frustration and disappointment and sadness and all of the feelings that you've had connected to the breakup and to being single again and feeling like you feel. When you can allow, again, like we were talking about with Roy, letting these energies move through your body and come out, are going to allow for a whole heap of new things to come in. So, I'd say stay off the dating apps for quite a while. Get to know yourself again and fall in love with yourself. And highly advise that you incorporate touch. And I highly advise to everybody, actually, self-pleasure. Go for it. It's life-changing. Yes. So, all right, I think we've got enough time for one last question here. Thank you, everybody, for the great questions so far. Okay, so this one might be our last question. This one's a big one. I don't find my partner very attractive anymore because all he does is complain about how little the time is that I spend with him. He wants more sex and I want an equal partner. I'm not ready to give up on him. Do you have any suggestions, as I'm in my 40s and I don't want to waste another minute with a man who can't be helped? This is a really big question, and I really thank you for asking. It sounds like you're in a little bit of a tricky situation here, in that you're not attracted to him anymore. He complains about you not spending time with him. He wants more sex. You're not an equal partner. You're ready to give up. There's lots of things there that are kind of saying to me that there's a lot of resentment at the moment. I would like to know whether or not he's interested in trying, and whether he's interested and whether he knows all of these things, and whether you're able to speak about them calmly together. Generally, when there's when there's words like this about complaining and not attractive anymore, and he always wants sex, you want an equal partner, there's lots and lots of layers to this one. So my advice, or my suggestions for you would be to definitely be seeking some sort of assistance with this, so that you can speak with somebody else in the room, almost as a mediator, and be very prepared to be honest. This really requires a lot of honesty and openness at the moment, and a lot of vulnerability. There's a lot of fear that's in there as well. So I would be concerned that your husband or your partner might be almost falling into that stage of his life where hormone levels might be affecting himself as well. And I'd also be considering how menopause for yourself is playing a part in this as well. That what's happening in the background? Are there children? I've got a lot of questions about this one that I'd probably suggest that it involves a lot more of a conversation, because the suggestions that I don't have enough information to provide enough really tangible assistance for this one on this sort of platform. So, but at this moment, the biggest piece of advice that I would give is that sit with yourself and maybe determine exactly what you're missing and exactly what you would like in the relationship with your partner, and then determine whether or not you're going to be comfortable to approach him to discuss them, and use the technique I suggested a little bit earlier about saying that you'd like to catch up and have a conversation, and you talk about how you're feeling with him, but at some point you're going to have to come together and have the conversation. It's going to be a gritty conversation without fail. So please feel free to reach out if you need help with that. Definitely available for that. So and Roy had a really nice piece of advice there too. Don't let your life become a chore. When people say that they're not ready to give up at this point, it's easy to say, don't let your life become a chore, but if they're not ready to give up, we have to really work with the tools and work with the information that we have to see what's salvageable in relationships like this. So everyone's different. A lot of people will run at the first thought of it, but other people are really willing to work on their relationships, and so that's where I come in. So it's probably a really nice way to finish this, actually. So I think we've got a little bit of time left. I do have a really lovely offer for everybody here tonight that is listening and commenting on the lives, that I will pop a link into the comments. And it is in effect, it's a half price coaching session with me. So it's normally a 90-minute session is what I will be offering here. So it's a 90-minute session. It's usually $250. But tonight we'll actually bring that back to $125. So I will pop a link in here. I do offer a quickie call as well, a complimentary quickie call, which is a half an hour chat. But for everybody here tonight, I'm offering that reduced rate, longer period of time, just because, as you would have heard tonight, I like to ask a lot more questions about the underlying components of the relationship and of yourself as well, to see how I can help and get you to your goals. So so thank you everybody for taking part, and I hope that's been really helpful for you all.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us tonight, Leanne. You were fantastic, and thanks everyone for sending in your questions. Some of them wouldn't have been easy, so that's so appreciated.
I thoroughly appreciate everybody's vulnerability in asking those questions, and like I said, if I have answered a question and I've asked you to contact me, please message me privately, and we can have a chat further.
Yeah. How can everyone get in touch with you, Leanne? Where can they find you online?
So I am online at soulmatecoaching.com.au. There's contact details in there. You can contact me on Facebook, also Soulmate Coaching, Instagram Soulmate Coaching, all one word. And I'm on TikTok, but I don't get on that one often enough. But yes, there's plenty of ways to contact me. And hopefully someone will find that what we've done tonight has been really valuable. You'll notice that there are,
I think so,
definitely different approaches to different questions. So
I think so. I think a lot of people, it's not an often spoken about subject, really. So
no.
It's something people think about, but they don't exactly say it or talk about it. So it's not a usual line of topic, but it's a very important one. So I hope everyone got a lot out of it.
Absolutely. And, look, I will listen and talk with anybody about anything. Too much is kept in the dark, and, we're all of different generations as well. So as we've grown through the generations, we've often swept it under the carpet, but time for some change. So you've got someone in your corner now, you've got someone by your side, you've got that support person that is non-judgmental, that will challenge your thought processes at times, for the best outcome for you in whatever you would like to make in your own decisions in your life. So and love.
I recommend anyone, if you've got any further questions, reach out to Leanne. She's fantastic to talk to one-on-one. And like she just said, she's very non-judgment, and she's a really fun person, actually. She's a really fun person to talk to. And she's got some great reels, so check those out. They're a bit of gold.
Just a big dag. That's really all it is. And dag. Why not? We all have some fun. You've got to have fun. Like spice
it's fun. It's fun.
Laughter, dancing, movement, sexy time. Why not? Laugh, pleasure.
Yeah. Pre-warning to the listeners: she's a little bit spicy. She's got some. She has props on her reels.
Yes. I didn't bring out the props tonight. Maybe another time. We'll do a late
another time. Maybe we'll have to do a part 2, a midnight talk with Leanne, eh?
We can do that for sure. Maybe I'll be going to bed by midnight. I've got other things to do.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Leanne. You've been absolutely fantastic. And thank you, everyone who tuned in tonight. Your input and questions and everything was great. And you can find the full episode of this on YouTube and Spotify. Just search 1111 Hour. And for all information about our next upcoming events, head to our website, 1111hour.com, and you'll be able to find everything there.
Awesome.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful night.
You too. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.